Stand right in the middle of the elevated wooden promenade of the Brooklyn Bridge today. Look around you. You are surrounded by thousands of tourists taking selfies, the endless, droning hum of rubber tires rolling over the steel grating below, and the towering, glittering glass monoliths of the modern Manhattan skyline, reflecting the afternoon sun. Now, close your eyes. Grip the cold painted steel cables. We're going to shatter the glass skyline. We're going to rip the rubber tires off the cars, tear up the asphalt, and plunge the city into a suffocating, mechanical darkness. We are dropping you 143 years into the past. It is May 24th, 1883. Open your eyes. The first thing you notice is that the sky is gone. If you look up from the streets of Lower Manhattan, the sun is physically blotted out by a terrifying, chaotic canopy of black lines. This is the era of the Great Blizzard of Wires. Every single telegraph machine, every stock ticker, every fire alarm, and every newly invented telephone requires its own individual, physical copper wire. The city has erected massive, 90-foot-tall wooden poles right in the middle of the sidewalks, each carrying up to 30 crossarms, supporting a tangled, sagging web of thousands of wires. It looks as though a giant mechanical spider has spun a thick black net entirely over the city. And under that net, the air is thick, gritty, and tastes heavily of sulfur and burnt coal. Welcome to the Gilded Age. Welcome to the steampunk metropolis. You are standing at the absolute peak of the Industrial Revolution, in a city that is violently, aggressively tearing itself apart to build the future. The sheer volume of noise in 1883 New York is enough to drive a modern person insane. Walk away from the river and stand at the intersection of the Bowery and 3rd Avenue. The ground shakes violently beneath your leather boots. Above your head runs the L, the elevated railway. But these are not the quiet electric subway cars of today. In 1883, the elevated tracks carry actual, miniature steam locomotives. They roar down the iron trestles just 30 feet above the cobblestones, pulling wooden passenger cars at a terrifying 30 miles per hour. As the steam train thunders overhead, a deafening metallic screech echoes through the brick canyons. A thick plume of black, oily smoke blasts directly into the third-floor windows of the surrounding tenements. And worse, you have to open your umbrella just to walk underneath it because the locomotives are constantly raining scalding water, hot grease, and glowing red cinders directly onto the hats and shoulders of the pedestrians below. The street level is pure, unadulterated chaos. There are no traffic lights. There are no crosswalks. The wide cobblestone avenues are a lethal obstacle course of heavy, horse-drawn omnibuses, fast-moving hackney cabs, and massive wooden delivery wagons. The air smells overwhelmingly of horse manure. Over 2 million pounds of it are dropped onto the streets of New York every single day, turning to toxic, blinding dust in the summer and a foul, freezing sludge in the winter. This is a city of brutal, staggering extremes. The term Gilded Age, coined by Mark Twain, wasn't a compliment. It meant that the society was covered in a razor-thin layer of glittering gold, but underneath, it was completely rotten. To understand this, we have to split the city in half. First, let's travel uptown to 5th Avenue. This is Millionaire's Row. Here, the robber barons, the Vanderbilts, the Astors, the Carnegies have built colossal limestone chateaus that rival the palaces of European kings. Just 2 months ago, in March of 1883, Alva Vanderbilt hosted a fancy dress ball that cost what would be roughly $7 million today. The guests arrived wearing costumes covered in actual flawless diamonds. They drank fountains of imported French champagne under the blinding, harsh glare of a brand new invention, Thomas Edison's incandescent electric light bulbs. This street is an insulated bubble of unimaginable tax-free wealth powered by the ruthless monopolization of railroads, steel, and coal. Now, travel just 3 miles south to the Lower East Side. You cross an invisible boundary line, and the electric lights instantly vanish. You are plunged back into the flickering, sickly yellow glow of hissing gas lamps. This is the most densely populated neighborhood on the face of the earth. Over 300,000 people, primarily Eastern European Jewish refugees and Italian immigrants, are crammed into 1 square mile of towering, decaying brick tenement buildings. Walk into a rear-yard tenement on Hester Street. The smell of boiled cabbage, damp wool, and open sewer pipes is suffocating. Climb the pitch-black, rotting wooden stairs. In 1883, this isn't just a place to sleep, it is a factory. Push open a door and you will find the sweatshops. Inside a single 10 by 10 foot room, 10 people are crammed together, working furiously. The air is thick with cotton dust, choking the lungs and spreading the white plague, tuberculosis. The room hums with the frantic, endless clacking of heavy cast-iron Singer sewing machines powered entirely by human foot pedals. Men, women and children as young as 6 are working 14-hour shifts, cutting, sewing and pressing garments under the suffocating heat of a coal stove. They are paid by the piece. If they stop pedaling, they starve. This brutal, invisible army of human labor is the engine that generates the immense wealth of the men uptown. But there is one thing in this city that forces the billionaires and the sweatshop workers to stop, look up, and stand in absolute awe. Walk east, toward the edge of the island, and look out over the chaotic waters of the East River. The river is a treacherous, churning maritime highway jammed with white-painted steam paddle boats, majestic masted clipper ships, and heavy wooden ferry boats desperately dodging each other in the strong tidal currents. And looming over all of it, dwarfing the entire city, are the twin Gothic stone towers of the Brooklyn Bridge. In 1883, the New York skyline is practically flat. The tallest buildings are 5-story brick offices and the steeples of churches. But the stone towers of the bridge rise an impossible 278 feet into the smog-choked sky. They are the tallest structures in the entire Western Hemisphere. To a person living in 1883, looking at these limestone and granite arches is like looking at an alien spacecraft that has suddenly landed in the river. They are monuments of pharaonic scale weighing 90,000 tons each, and connecting them is a miracle of modern metallurgy. A delicate sweeping web of thousands of miles of galvanized steel wire, spinning a suspension bridge longer than anything ever attempted in human history. But this bridge is haunted. It is a monument built on blood, compressed air, and unimaginable agony. To understand the sheer terror of what it took to build this bridge, you have to look down, deep beneath the dark, freezing waters of the East River. 14 years earlier, to anchor those massive stone towers into the bedrock, the engineers had to use pneumatic caissons. Imagine a colossal, airtight wooden box, half the size of a city block. They flipped it upside down, sank it to the bottom of the river, and pumped it full of compressed air to keep the water from rushing in. Then, they sent men inside. To work in the caisson, laborers had to climb down a narrow iron shaft and pass through an airlock. As the compressed air flooded in, the pressure on their eardrums was excruciating. Down in the box, the conditions were hellish. It was a suffocating 100-degree chamber of thick mud and blinding darkness, lit only by flickering, smoky calcium lamps. The men stood knee-deep in the freezing river mud, using pickaxes and dynamite to manually dig away the riverbed, while thousands of tons of heavy stone were stacked directly on top of the wooden roof above their heads, slowly pushing the box deeper into the earth. But the real terror didn't happen while they were digging. It happened when they came back up. When the workers emerged from the high-pressure environment of the caisson back into the normal atmosphere too quickly, the dissolved nitrogen in their bloodstream suddenly expanded, forming agonizing bubbles in their joints, their spine, and their brain. They called it caisson disease. Today, we call it the bends. Men would emerge from the airlock, take 3 steps, and collapse onto the wooden docks, screaming in absolute, unspeakable agony. Their bodies would contort into violent spasms. Many were paralyzed from the waist down. Dozens died. Even the chief engineer, Washington Roebling, fell victim. He was pulled from the caisson paralyzed, partially blind, and completely crippled by the disease. For the rest of the construction, he was confined to a bed in his home in Brooklyn Heights, watching the bridge rise through a telescope propped up in his window. When Washington fell, the entire project teetered on the brink of collapse. It was saved by his wife, Emily Warren Roebling. In an era when women were legally barred from voting and widely considered too fragile for heavy industry, Emily stepped into the breach. She taught herself advanced higher mathematics, catenary curve calculations, and the physics of steel cable construction. For over a decade, she was the undisputed surrogate chief engineer, walking the precarious wooden catwalks hundreds of feet in the air, issuing orders to the massive crews of rough ironworkers, and politically outmaneuvering the corrupt politicians of Tammany Hall who tried to seize control of the project. And that is why today, May 24th, 1883, the city is screaming her name. It is opening day. The President of the United States, Chester A. Arthur, is standing at the Manhattan terminal. The United States Naval Armada is anchored in the harbor, blasting their heavy cannons in a deafening, thunderous salute. Factory whistles and church bells are ringing so loudly the ground vibrates. And leading the inaugural procession across the wooden promenade is Emily Warren Roebling. She rides in an open carriage, carrying a live rooster in her lap as a traditional symbol of victory. For the very first time in planetary history, the two massive independent cities of New York and Brooklyn are physically bolted together by steel. The Great Bridge is open, but the steampunk metropolis is a city of high anxiety, and the triumph of the bridge is almost immediately shattered by horror. Fast forward exactly 6 days. It is May 30th, Decoration Day. The wooden promenade is packed shoulder to shoulder with thousands of pedestrians enjoying a sunny holiday walk. Suddenly, near the Manhattan Tower, a woman climbing the narrow wooden stairs trips and falls. Another person trips over her. A woman screams. In a city that is terrified of collapsing tenements and boiler explosions, a single scream is a spark in a powder keg. A rumor instantly ripples through the packed crowd like a shockwave. The bridge is falling. The steel cables are snapping. Absolute primal panic takes over. Tens of thousands of people surge toward the narrow exits. It is a terrifying, unstoppable human avalanche. People are pushed against the iron railings, their clothes torn, the breath crushed from their lungs. The screams are deafening. Men, women, and children are trampled under the boots of the terrified mob. By the time the police finally manage to physically beat back the crowd and clear the promenade with swinging nightsticks, the wooden planks are stained with blood. 12 people have been crushed to death, and hundreds more are severely injured. Piles of torn hats, shredded umbrellas, and bloody shoes are left scattered across the engineering marvel of the century. A dark shadow falls over the bridge. The public is terrified. The structural integrity of the steel is questioned. People refuse to cross it. The city needs a psychological reset. They need a spectacle. And so, they turn to the greatest showman in American history, P.T. Barnum. A year later, at the dead of night, the city clears the bridge, and out of the fog of the Manhattan streets emerges an impossible, surreal procession. Barnum marches 21 massive, full-grown circus elephants directly onto the wooden roadway of the Brooklyn Bridge. Leading the pack is Jumbo, a 7-ton African elephant, towering over the gas lamps. The massive animals slowly trudge across the suspension bridge, their heavy footfalls testing the steel cables. The bridge doesn't sway, it doesn't groan, it holds the weight easily. The public reads the papers the next morning, sees the illustrations of the elephants, and the fear finally evaporates. The bridge is safe. New York in 1883 is a city standing right on the bleeding edge of the future. It is violent, polluted, and wildly unequal. But the very steel cables that string the Brooklyn Bridge together are the exact same technology that will soon be turned vertically, allowing architects to build the first steel-framed skyscrapers. The blinding electric lights glowing in the Vanderbilt mansions will soon snake their way into the streets, replacing the hissing gas lamps and clearing the smog. And the massive wooden poles carrying the great blizzard of wires will soon be chopped down, the cables buried deep beneath the asphalt. The raw, mechanical steampunk city is about to shed its iron skin, and become the modern, towering, neon-lit metropolis of the 20th century. When you walk across the Brooklyn Bridge today, run your hand along the diagonal steel suspender cables. You are touching the exact same strands of metal that Emily Roebling supervised, the same steel that held the weight of Barnum's elephants and the very spine of the Gilded Age. The smog is gone, the steam trains are silent, but the colossal Gothic stone towers remain, anchoring the ghosts of 1883 to the bedrock of the modern world. This video is brought to you by the Paladin Learn History app.